Welcome back to Through the Looking Glass Bali, Hospitality and Beyond. Today's conversation is a special one for me. When I first came to Bali in 2013, Desa Seni was one of the very first places I have visited. I still remember walking through the gardens, seeing the traditional wooden houses, feeling the atmosphere. It was unlike anything I'd experienced before. It wasn't just a beautiful place, it felt like it had a soul. My guest today is Thomas Talucci, the founder of Desa Seni, an art village that began on a quiet lane in Berawa and has since evolved into a beautiful sanctuary nestled in the hills of Baturiti, while staying true to the spirit that made it so special from the very beginning. Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for having us in your beautiful place today morning.
Oh, well, thank you and welcome.
Yeah, let's start a little bit with your background. Maybe you have a very multicultural background when you grow up, right? And then eventually you find yourself in Bali. How have this happened? And when was the moment you decided that the Bali is the place to stay and live and build something and not just to visit?
Well, I was born in Mexico and I grew up in Brazil. I moved to the United States when I was just a teenager. Went to school there, and college, university, opened restaurants, and then one day ended up coming to Bali, Indonesia, to help my brother, who has a cottage industry handbag business, and we developed his textile into a soft home furnishings line. And in one of those trips, I ended up going up into Borneo and Kalimantan to do a river trip, and which was all by boat, and started to realize how many trees had fallen into the river and that were obstructing their passageways. You know, their rivers are like the roads, you know, in any other country. So I had this idea that if they would let me take these trees out of the river, I would repurpose them and start a furniture business. So it worked out well, where they were obviously very happy. So I started doing a recycled wood furniture business, but using old school carpentry. So it was about bringing back the old arts and crafts. And after being in Indonesia and seeing the talent and the work and all the woodworking that they'd done, it just became kind of a natural extension. That was when I had realized that I wanted to do something more in Indonesia. I wanted to do a business, something that was more creative, repurpose, and using the talents of the people. So I did that business roughly for about, 8 years, 8 to 10 years, and then sold that business. And in the time that I was doing that business, I had gotten introduced to a lot of designers and architects, and started working with them with the wood houses, the Indonesian joglos, gladaks, limasans, because as I traveled throughout Indonesia, I kept coming across these beautiful wood buildings, and had the idea that if we were to renovate them and repurpose them in a way that Westerners can use them, such as buildings in Hawaii, Arizona, New Mexico, some places also in Europe, kind of like his little, you know, pool houses or an extra guest house. And then it ended up working really well, and people loved that idea. So when I sold the furniture business, being that I was being in the wood house business and wanted to stay in Bali, because my love for Bali has always been here with the people and the culture, I kind of made a list of everything that I was already doing in my life and that I loved, and looked at Bali and said, well, what can I do if I'm going to stay here that's going to really be in integrity? Having been here for so long, I was seeing the side of Bali that, you know, I don't quite understand. You know, I call it the shoebox villas. All this concrete, cinder blocks, cement. You know, they put a tree in the yard and they call it a garden, but there's no grass. Where literally you can pick anybody up and put them there and say, where are you in the world? And they really wouldn't know. So that was my inspiration, that if I was going to stay in Bali and do something and do a building of sorts and a resort wellness center, which is what my inspiration was, incorporating art, people, and culture. It was to do something where when you landed at Desa Seni, you knew you were like in Asia, you are in Indonesia. So that was, the inspiration was to really go against what everybody else was doing and do something that nobody else had done. So if it's the organic farming, the yoga, the art, the wellness, the culture, the people, believe it or not, 23 years ago, nobody had really done any of that.
Yeah.
So that's where Desa Seni, got birthed and evolved.
That's interesting. You touch a little bit of the things why you wanted to create it, why you wanted to create it from your point of view, right? But what experience you wanted your guests have when they coming there in Desa Seni?
Well, other than coming here for their own self-development, and if it's through yoga, meditation, if it's through writing workshops, if it's through painting or ceramics, there's many ways to explore the self. I wanted people to truly experience the culture of people. I believe that one of the ways through wellness is when we start to realize and understand how other people live. And we're able to take ourselves out of our, normal four walls and see how other people live. If it's through religion, if it's through food, if it's through traditions, if it's through culture and art, because it's all quite expressive. So I wanted people to come and really be like, oh my God, I am in Indonesia. I am like, so many people, we're basically like the other side of the world. So it was about giving them that true, authentic experience and sharing with them.
Hospitality changed so dramatically, especially over the last 20 years. And Desa Seni, you've been first open
22 years ago.
22 years ago. How do you adapt but staying still true to the values you originally put in the foundation of this creator? Because that's what you say, right? Like people trying to chase trends, right? They're trying to, okay, what is new? Let's do this. So there's a lot of people chasing the modern way of building, right? And all of these things. But you staying for 20 years, you staying very consistent in your concept.
Yeah, well, it's from the beginning, as I said, a couple minutes ago, is that when I was looking at what I wanted to do and stay in Bali, I pulled together everything that I was already doing and everything that I truly believed in that's, very reflective of me as a person. If it's the farming, if it's charity work, if it's art, design, gardening, cooking, yoga, meditating, these are all things that are a part of my daily life. And I know how much I have benefited as an individual from that. So for me to be able to have a business where I have everything that I love, I mean, of course, there's, challenges and heartache, but that's in anything. But as a whole, to have everything that I truly love and believe in, and then to be able to expound upon that also, as you're talking about trends and different movements and different, eating habits or, health habits. It does change and evolve as we are changing and evolving. So it's changed a lot in the world of tourism because so many other places have realized the importance that people are looking for that, especially after COVID. COVID was a huge wake-up call to humanity about we need to be living more healthy. And a lot more people are on that bandwagon today. If it's through their food, if it's through their experiences or their practices of health, if it's weightlifting, if it's yoga, if it's Pilates, there's many things that are growing with a lot of attention. Of course, the trends are the tricky ones, right? Because what is just a trend and what is in reality something that is longevity? So I think it's interesting because a lot of the trends, as I always tell people, if something works for an individual, I support it. Not everything's going to work for me or for you. And that's the trick in all these different modalities and different schools of thought, is finding the one that resonates with you. And that's what I do here. We do share different schools of yoga, different schools of meditation, different philosophies and art, and different styles of cooking, because the world's big. Now, we're not going to be able to be experts on all of it, but yet we bring in a team of people, and that's where I think Desa Seni sometimes is different from other places, is that what we are not experts at and or very strong at, we bring in teams. We bring in people who come and then are able to help with the big vision, the big philosophy of giving people an experience. Tourism today, it's all about experiences. Everybody wants an experience. So survival for us, after 20 years in one location, picking up and moving, an hour north into the heart of Bali, the middle of the mountains, was a risky move. We have a good database of customers and people who believe in what we do and that want to be a part of this, because this is what they're also looking for. But it's not a guarantee. Luckily, I believe that with the movements and the trends that people are following, and trends, just to be quick, is not a bad word. It's not a bad word. So I think, we are definitely being very supported by this move. Of course, it takes time because it is a new business in a new location. But as a whole, we're really, really excited about that the vision and the philosophy is staying true. Some things we've had to change a little bit and alter due to learning. For example, the organic farming. Because we're in the heart of the farming and the agricultural heart of Bali, when we're working and developing these educational courses with farmers and trying to get more and more farmers organic, they're like, yeah, but you're growing your own stuff. You need to support us, so you need to buy from us. So interesting different lessons that come about, which makes complete sense. So with the organic farmers in the area that we're supporting, what we've done is come up with this co-op farming. So whatever they're not growing, we grow. And then what we grow, they're not growing. So we're still buying and supporting from them. So it's just different things that, of course, you have to be flexible in your vision, flexible in your philosophy, because things do change. Areas change, temperatures change. But with that, there's also, opportunity for further development.
You mentioned a little bit about the challenges on the way. Can we talk a little bit more about that and why you decided to move from Berawa to here?
When we first opened in Berawa, you could not see a light bulb at night. Now Berawa is a mega cosmopolitan little city within Bali, which, if that's what you're looking for, it's an amazing place. If you want the bars and the beach clubs and the restaurants and the nail salons and the yoga studio, it's an amazing, amazing epicenter of Bali, if that's what you want. So for us, unfortunately, what happened is, we got surrounded by the beach clubs. So, Thursday through Sunday, we started boom, boom, boom. We could have dance parties at our pool. So it was a matter of, again, times change, things change, neighborhoods change, and we have to evolve. So we'd alwad wanted to move. We spent 6 years looking for land to move, anticipating. We'd basically given up and had our closing date because the land lease was coming up. And then this piece of land miraculously just was available. And it met all the criteria, which was a bit challenging because after being in Bali, I've been here now 30 years. So again, one of the things that really worries me is the Balinese who are selling their land. You know, selling their land is their inheritance. It's their wealth. They don't understand. So for me, the challenge was I did not want to lease land again and be in the same situation that I was in Berawa. So it was a matter of finding land that was already out of the Balinese inheritance, affordable, and then no neighbors. And luckily, this is a huge, like U, the letter U, and the outline is a valley. And we are in the middle. So I was very fortunate. It was really a last minute thing, and it was like everything fell into place. You know, Bali's a funny place. When the ball rolls, you go with it. When the ball hits a bump in the road or something, it's time to just be like, okay. You know, when you try to push, or my experience, when you push here, you push. And push is resistance for me. So luckily, it fell into place. So it was just, again, an evolution. And, you know, kind of getting back to our roots by moving up here, back to what it was that we wanted to be, you know, the village of Bali, with the people of Bali, and a place that was calm and peaceful, and where you could really come and just let go and turn off.
It's interesting you mentioned it. I really, it's coming quite often for the last couple of weeks, like everything have a right time, right? So
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
more you're pushing it, as more resistance you actually get. And sometimes I think that's Bali is really good in teaching us this, to let go the things and just believe that the things will come.
Oh yeah, if you can't surrender in Bali, forget it. No.
That's a hard part.
And it's an ongoing lesson. None of us have perfected it.
I didn't get enough slaps yet. I feel like I'm still trying to like. All right. Desa Seni means art village, right?
Correct.
And art and the well-being was always going together in this place. Why do you think art is so important for our well-being?
You know, because art is a form of expression. And expression is something that every human does in different ways and in different shapes and different forms. So for us, the art is, especially in Indonesia, because it's so integrated into their way of life. You know, art isn't just about a painting or a sculpture. The art is, you know, the carving. Art is the amount of detail and passion that goes into what they create, you know, even their buildings. You know, art is acting, the puppet theaters. So there's so much that every culture has in their own form of art that, again, goes back to what I had said earlier about the more that we expand our horizons of how other people live, and the stories and the folklore and the different things that come through all these forms of art, we better understand another culture. And I think the more we understand another culture, we're able to really understand and get back to kind of the roots of humanity. Because really, you know, without getting too philosophical, we're all one. We're all the same people. So how is it that different people express it? Art having, you know, being one of my passions and loving creativity, of course, I've pulled that in also. You know, art is used in many ways for exploration in trauma. Art is actually a very old method of communication. You know, we look back to the caves where there's, you know, drawings. They're communicating. They're ways of telling stories. There's ways of people saying something. And then, again, the way of interpretation. So art, you know, with the art village, is also about, you know, the art of living. So it's art in many forms and many different ways. If it's the art with the food, the art of dance, the art of yoga, there's all a passion that's integrated with any of this that I feel is what creates art. So it's quite a broad definition.
Through understanding another people, we do better starting to understand ourselves. So
Absolutely.
it's sort of coming back to yourself,
Right.
actually, through that.
And the beauty with tourism too is that, you know, it's not just the Indonesian culture, but it's when you have a place like this and you're bringing people together from all over the world. You know, you've got the Japanese meeting the Germans, and the Germans meeting the Italians, and the Germans are like, oh my God, the Italians are so dramatic. And then they start to, you know, so they just start to learn these different things about different people. So it's also, you know, that's what I find one of the things that is most fascinating about living in Bali is that with all my travels all over the world, Bali is one place that, I mean, you meet people from everywhere in the world. I mean, everywhere. You know, but you can't say that a lot.
Yeah.
So again, I think that melting pot creates this expansive culture awareness where then people are, they're not so judgmental, they're not so prejudiced. It becomes a little bit more like, okay, wow, and it's all just gelling.
Yeah. More respect to each other, like more openness to diverse
I think more
culture
openness and
yeah.
respect. I would agree with that, but I think that comes from the Indonesians. That's not coming from the Westerners. I think that's coming from the Indonesians because when we've been here long enough and we see how tolerant they are and how welcoming they are and really quite non-judgmental, that of course affects us, right? I mean, that's something that we're all working on in some way or another. So I think that's, you know, that's, I can say that, you know, 30 years ago when I first came, that was one of the things that I just was like, oh my God, it can exist. So it's a matter of, you know, letting go of these taught perceptions or taught judgments that we've gotten through, you know, God, high school, through religion, through college, through our parents, through television, magazines, there's, you know, through friends, through breakups with boyfriends, girlfriends, all these different things that, so, you know, getting back to the true self.
Talking about different people and different customers, you have the guests from all over the world, but how have they changed, or is there any change actually in the customers for this last 20 years, and especially after COVID, and their behavior and their preferences and what they're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, there is a change. I would say one of the biggest changes is that they're much more interested in an experience and being able to kind of feel, sense, taste, see, be a part of, versus just taking. You know, years ago, for example, you know, people used to be about what they can buy and gifts and this and that, you know, like, there's not about the purchasing anymore. It's, you know, it's much more about how can we fit into this culture? How can we fit into it? Especially like with a lot of the groups that we do, it's how can we give back for what we are receiving when we're here? So people are cognizant and aware that when they're here, there is a sense of receiving. You know, the bhakti and the shakti moments that you see everywhere, and the ceremony and the temples, and then just meeting the different, you know, ethnicities of people. It's all creating an experience. And of course, when you're on vacation, you're in your best state of mind, right? So you're the most relaxed, you're the most free, you're kind of the most open and willing. So of course, all that creates to, you know, amazing energy. So yeah, it's about people truly wanting the experience. And what we're finding is, because we focused on that from the beginning, that was part of our concept. And, you know, what I wanted to share with people is that it's just growing and that they're much more open and willing to kind of anything and everything. You know, before, like when I used to recommend that people should go see a Balinese cremation, they'd be like, oh. Now it's like, oh wow, really? Is that cool? Is that interesting? You know, there's excitement about it. Where before it was like, of course, anything related to death sometimes in our culture.
Yeah, it's very transforming experience.
Exactly.
I guess. Like it's completely different view how the people seeing death.
Exactly, of how to perceive death and perceive life and the afterlife. So it's interesting that people are, I would just say, much, much more open and willing, and especially our customer, because they know that's what they're going to get.
In Desa Seni here, you have different programs, right? It's not just about the stay. You have the retreats for the group. You have some offering in terms of the lesson, right? Some classes, plus this amazing space where people can just come and unfold. What are you most excited about?
I'm most excited, especially with the new location, that we've really launched our residency program. And the residency program, again, is about art. But it's not just necessarily painters or ceramicists. We had one artist already come in who did a 2-month experience, and all his paintings, he was a painter, were reflective of the experiences that he had in Bali. And that's a big part of this program. This big part of the program is bringing artists, facilitators, people, writers. We just finished one which was a writing workshop where it was getting people to write their books and get their ideas. So that's exciting for me, because in this new space, we've had this house particularly, which is the art center, where people can come and explore creativity. But in our activities, our daily activities, which is also part of our program, it can be anything from, how to make the offerings, to a yoga class, to meditation, to cooking, teaching them all about the jamus, these herbal tonics that everybody's drinking, and the kombuchas. Well, we're teaching them the Indonesian tonics, which have been around for hundreds of years. So that's the exciting thing that I really love. We have a teacher coming in who's Jeremy, who's going to be doing a residency all on digital detox. Because the amount of time that we're all on our apps. So he's going to come in and do some amazing teachings, because I feel that that's something that people need help with. We have an American Indian DNA tribe, Johan, coming, who's going to be doing a 3-week residency, and he's going to be all about how we connect back to the earth. The Navajo American Indian was about earth and sky. So he's going to be doing a lot of different music rituals and meditations and dance circles. There's no medicine involved. And when I mean medicine, meaning ayahuasca or other traditions, the American Indian does not do that. They reach the same state of consciousness, but through music, dance, movement. So that's really exciting to me, because it's really being able to expand our whole concept of wellness. When we were in Berawa, we were very much into yoga, and then into Chinese medicine through the spa. And up here, we're still doing that, but yet being able to bring some other forms of wellness and really be able to support what I would say a more cohesive, well-rounded program of wellness. So for me, that's really exciting, because that was always part of my vision in Berawa, but we just didn't have the space there. So here with the rebuild, it was like, okay, this time we're going to dedicate a space and a program for this, and have teachers, and this will be the Desa Seni program. Because then also we have all the programs that we're supporting, which are teachers from the outside. So facilitators who want to bring a group, and they're doing their own teachings. So we're more of a host, creating their diet, Terry needs through the menu. A lot of them do have us adding to their program through our visions and our activities. So that's kind of nice. If it's a mandala making class or a different style of yoga that they don't, the teacher that's coming doesn't teach. So it becomes a nice group of different, ideas and ideologies coming together.
During this residential week, other guests can just come anytime and stay for 1 or 2 nights, or just visit the classes, or they have to also stay for some extended period of time?
No. When we do these residency type programs, we design different workshops, gatherings that some are just one day, so people who want to come up, can't take the time off. Some are just one night, and then some can be anywhere from 3 nights to 7 nights. This is what's nice about the residency, is that the facilitator's coming for a couple of weeks. So we're all able to offer a variety of different things. One of the things that I really was also actually excited about when we moved up here is we're very much about community. And in Berawa, we built a very, very strong community. So what's wonderful is being up here, that community still exists. So we've actually tapped into, the expat market as a tourism sector in a sense, because a lot of people down south, they want to escape for the weekend. They want to come and do a workshop and continue their own growth. And the amount of people living here now has just exploded. It's deceiving sometimes when you look on the roads. You don't know who a tourist is and who's actually living here anymore. Believe it or not, there was a time back in the day when we all knew each other. So we design programs to really, even some of the programs are just for children. So, and that's worked really well.
So we talk a little bit about the food already, and you touched the thing that's you growing a little bit here on your area, but you're also supporting the local communities. Food as a big part first of the cultural exploration, right, of the area, because also through food we can learn and understand more about the people, their culture, their tradition. Another thing is food as a wellness, as a well-being, because again, what we consume is basically influence to how we feel, right, and how do we live. For you personally, why is it so important to grow the things here and not to bring it from somewhere else, and how you build these relationships with the farmers around you?
Well, I love farming.
Okay.
For me, there's nothing like going to the farm, picking your tomatoes and going and making a fresh tomato salad. I mean, there's just nothing better, right? And then, the quality of the food, the organic factor. The world it's just full of pesticides and chemicals and so many diseases and so many sicknesses that, weren't around before the big corporate companies came in and just started taking over everything. I'm not going to name any names. So for me, the food source is in the end, I think it's going to be what our health status is going to be like. So other than loving the farming and that joy of planting a seed and then you're picking an eggplant or a tomato, there's a real sense in that. It's also about eating well. One of the things that I would say I love about Asia is that our food is very fresh. If you, eat well and you go to the pasars, which are the markets, and, that stuff was all harvested the night before. You see them selling chicken on the side of the road. They butchered those chickens probably 2 hours ago. So again, I think what's one of the beauties of Indonesia and all over Asia is how fresh. The problem is there's a lot of pesticides. So the organic aspect is about really trying to stay clean, trying to stay healthy, trying to wake up in the morning and feel good. And, it only makes sense what we put into our bodies is what we're going to be, right? So, being up here, it's, when we were in the South, and it was 22 years ago, organic didn't exist. People thought I was crazy. Like, what are you talking about? So, for me, it's that passion started a long time ago, right? So for me now, the farming is important, but it's more important that I support the organic farmers. So my farming here, I've cut back tremendously because of the lesson that I shared earlier, coming up here and then being like, well, but you're growing your stuff. You want us to be organic. We need to find the organic customer that's willing to pay more because it is a more expensive product, because the yield is a lot less than their friend who's spraying it down the street. So organic really is practicing organic. Also, let's be clear about that. There's no organic on this island. There's a lot of practicing organic. So meaning we're not using chemicals or pesticides or plastic tarps to cover the soil. But yet, the true definition of organic is, it's a pretty big mile radius of the other people around you, because it all travels. So practicing organic is better than not. So, and it does make a huge difference in the taste of the food. We're always amazed at how many guests are just like, oh my God, this tomato. Like,
Tastes tomato.
Well, it tastes like a tomato, right? Or corn that tastes like corn. So yeah, it's about me wanting to be healthy. It's about me wanting people to be healthy, and I want people to taste the difference and realize that, our health is, it's even pre-COVID, I was very much about my health, and it's about, staying as healthy as we can, without being a fanatic also, right? It's, because it's easy to get caught up in it.
It's also a good balance, right? You have to be
it's about a good balance, but it is, it's also education, right? I think sometimes people don't realize, and that's one of the things that I see happening a lot in tourism too, is there's a lot more education, right? It's, nobody ever talked about the bad oils, for example, right? That the good oils and the bad oils. And nobody really addressed the issues with sugar, and people didn't really understand, my God, how much sugar is being put into all the food, and the negative effects, and that, sugar is the biggest feeder of cancer. So I think education also is helping more and more people. But it does get challenging. But it's more a passion, and then I love food, and I love good tasting food. I mean, when I eat a tomato, I want to taste the tomato.
We all want, to be honest.
No, I know we all want to, but
it's not everyone is ready to put the effort into that.
Correct.
Because it's quite time demanding first, and the second, it's really dependable on many factors, especially if you're not, and that's the big concern from the farmers, right? You cannot be sure that, considering all the weather condition, the soil, the water,
it's a lot of different things. Absolutely.
which is influence your harvest, and that you will in the end up with fairly paid for your product what you grow up. So it's always, it's very, very tricky. We want to eat better, we want to have a better food, but again, the understanding how much effort we need to put into create that.
Oh, it takes effort. You're absolutely right. It's definitely work. It's a matter of, from starting with the farmer, right? It's from all the way to the end plate. It's a lot more effort, work, education, knowledge from everybody to be able to do that, and that's the hard thing.
But I think with this also, with understanding of that, you have more appreciation for what you're having on your plate.
Yes, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So, like, you're taking the things completely different, rather than you just pick some things in the supermarket and you have no idea where is it coming from, or who did it. So
which is which is most of the world. It's
unfortunately.
Unfortunately, it's and it's then taking the decision for the budget, right? The budget in the household, and that's the thing, because it is considerably more. I mean, fortunately here in Asia, it's more, but it's not like more in the West. So it's easier here, but it's making that decision, that determination, and then the goal to stay true to it.
Talking about awareness and education, Thomas, you've been here for quite a long time. You've seen many things come and gone. I believe it's example, like positive example and positive experience we're sharing with each other. It can inspire also another people to go the right way and start the small things, because quite often it's all things like, oh no, you need a huge land to grow your own garden, for example, or you need so much resources to do your recycling program, for example. What would be your 3 simple day-to-day steps, to bring a more positive impact on our environment, on the tourism development, on the hospitality industry? Like, what are you doing day to day? What you would advise to other people, maybe?
Well, I think one of the biggest is being aware of your garbage and how much garbage you're generating, and literally sorting it, and like literally noticing per week. I think that once somebody starts to do that, and then they take step 2, which is, okay, how can I reduce the amount of garbage? So it's when I go shopping. If it's a matter of in the seat of my motorbike, there's always cloth bags. There's little things that we can do. So I think, garbage it's not just a problem in Bali. We're having horrendous problems right now, but it's a problem of the world. It's a world issue of waste in different countries. So for me, garbage is a huge one, because every single one of us can make a difference. And it's, again, by us paying attention to our garbage, we're actually educating ourselves by realizing, like, oh my God, look at the amount of plastic bottles I generate. If I just get myself an aluminum bottle or a copper bottle, I can eliminate all these water bottles. So it's simple things, but it's taking that initiative, right? This is the thing that I find very challenging in Indonesia. Last week I was speaking at the school with children about garbage and was talking to them. And interestingly enough, we got garbage cans too, and we put garbage cans at the school. And it's just like, it's a matter of putting it in. That's all you have to do, because there's just... And interestingly enough, they do, and they get it, but you have to stay on top of it. So it's a practice, right? So when I say about education and about observing our own selves at home and in a business, we don't do any plastic bottles here. All our water is reverse osmosis. We do the big jugs. We give every guest a bottle for water, and we have water refill stations, because that's one of the biggest, right? And then you have all the plastic that's, the plastic bag from the shop and the plastic wrapping of the spinach. And, more and more shops today are around that are cutting all that packaging out. So number 1 would be the garbage, the educating in your family, and then your team at the house, because, living in Bali, we tend to have some employees, but educating them, and then hopefully they're taking this back to their village. It's a small movement, but it makes a difference. Number 2 would be the giving back. I think from being here for so long, and something that goes back to expanding people's minds through cultures, is how much we have as Westerners, and really and we deserve it. It's not that we don't deserve it, but the importance of giving back, and giving back, if it's to the land, if it's planting trees. Giving back doesn't always necessarily mean having to contribute to another individual for me. That is part of it, but there are other ways of giving back. So how can I give back to the plethora and the abundance that I have? So if it's, even volunteering at a school and teaching kids English, or working with the orphanage and putting them into our rolling training program, which is what we do here at the resort, because tourism is so big in Bali. So we take, the graduates of high school from different orphanages, and we let them do housekeeping or accounting or the kitchen, and get firsthand experience. And they're fully paid, fully benefits. So it's, and letting them see what it's like to earn money. So it's giving back. We have to give back. And I think one of the beauties with all our clientele, they're all very interested in giving back. And then the third, God, what would be the third most important?
If there is anything you think personally for you may be important, you know, like something what you're doing through your day-to-day routine and practice.
Yeah, you know, well, it's a practice that I have every day, and it's a practice that I do with my meditation, and it's setting intentions of how to be a better person. So this was something that I was taught when I did a trip in India through an Indian teacher, and you know, people, or all of us who are working on ourselves, right? We have a lot of things from our past that are affecting us in different ways. Some are positive and some are not positive. So for me, one of my things is every day is my intention. What is my intention of the day? And then at the end of the day, when I do my last meditation, I review my intention. So again, I think this is a good example of also the garbage. I really find that when we, as a whole, train ourselves and have these different practices that we do, we just keep evolving. You know, it's like, you know, I push myself to always go to the art shows in Ubud. You know, Ubud's a bit of a journey and the traffic, but yet, you know, I love art, and artists need support, and galleries need support, and so, you know, it's again, and you know, once I get there, I'm so glad I did it, right? You know, the journey sometimes is like, oh, it's 40 minutes, but so it's follow your passion, follow what you love, and stay true to yourself. And if you're not sure, make lists. You know, that's how I came up with Desa Seni. Actually, interesting quick story is I've always been into the culture and the people. So a pemangku is a Balinese priest, and he was my neighbor, and we used to chat a lot. And I was telling him that I was selling the business. He's like, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. He's like, you know what? Make a list of everything you love. And funny enough, I did, and that was like Desa Seni. It sounds very simple, but you know, just staying true to myself and following what I love, and then staying determined and on the path, and not giving up, and not pushing. Whenever I met resistance, I was like, okay, it'll happen. Just take a breath.
Okay. If there would be just one feeling the guest could take back home from Desa Seni, what would you want it to be?
One feeling is serenity within.
Why?
Because I think after people spend time here and experience what we're offering and what we're sharing, they leave with just a sense of, you know, I think that when people come in, there's a sense of aha. And then when they leave, it's So it's a sense of, you know, serenity is what brings us peace to mind, right? We're able to think and process without, you know, that little devil, right? We all have that little devil, right? And always, you know, creating doubt or whatever it's doing, right? It's every one of us has it. But, you know, and again, anybody on vacation has that right? You know, at the end, they don't want to leave. Nobody ever wants it to leave. So for me, it's when people leave here with that it's like, okay, you know what, we did what we were trying to do. And not that we have, you know, we're trying to do it. It's what we wanted them to experience. And when people leave feeling that, I know that they're taking something with them. You know, and when you leave Bali, you take something, you know, regardless of what we do at Desa Seni, people who come to Bali and leave Bali, they do take something with them. You know, Bali is a special place that way. So we want to be a part of that. So it's Bali and it's Desa Seni. So,
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience.